Before we begin, I want to ask you something. Have you ever opened your bank app, seen money sitting there, and still felt stressed, not just cautious, not just responsible, actually uneasy? Because if that has ever happened to you, this video may explain exactly why. And the reason might shock you. Your budget may not be failing because you spend too much. It may be failing because the number you trust most is the wrong one. And if you keep making decisions based on that number, your money will keep feeling out of control, even when it looks like you should be fine. Welcome to Money Mindset Lab, where we break down the psychology behind money and build habits that actually stick. Let's get straight to it. Most people think the most important money number is one of these: your income, your paycheck, your bank balance, your debt. And yes, those numbers matter, but none of them answer the one question your brain is actually asking: am I safe? That is the real question. Not, am I doing better than other people? Not, do I look financially okay? Not, did I earn enough this month? Your nervous system wants one answer: do I have enough room to handle life without panic? And that answer does not live in your total balance. It lives in one number: your margin, your real safe to spend number. And if you are not tracking that number, your budget can look fine on paper and still feel like chaos in real life. Here's the shock. Let's say you open your bank app and see $2,000. That feels good, right? It looks like relief. It looks like breathing room. It looks like you're okay. But are you? Let's break it down. Maybe $800 is rent, maybe $300 is bills, maybe $200 is groceries, maybe $150 is subscriptions and minimum debt payments, maybe $250 needs to stay protected for savings. Now what's left? Not $2,000. You do not have $2,000 of freedom. You have $300. That is your real number. And if you spend like you have $2,000, your budget will mysteriously fail. But it's not mysterious. You were trusting the wrong number. That is why your bank balance can lie to you. Because your balance is just one pile, and one pile lies. Why? Because that number includes money that already has jobs, rent, bills, food, debt, upcoming payments, essentials your brain already knows are coming, even if you are trying not to think about them. So when you look at your balance, your brain does not feel rich. It feels uncertain. And uncertainty is exactly where bad money decisions begin. Because uncertain brains usually do one of two things: they freeze or they spend. They freeze because every choice feels risky. Can I buy this? Should I wait? What if something happens later? What if I need that money? Or they spend because spending ends the tension. For 1 second, it creates a tiny moment of relief, and that's the trap. You think your problem is discipline, but often your real problem is that you are measuring the wrong thing. So let's define it clearly. Margin is not your full balance. Margin is what is left after your real obligations are covered. And what must be protected stays protected. It is your breathing room. It is your shock absorber. It is the distance between you and panic. And that distance is what your brain experiences as freedom. Now let me ask you something. Which feels safer? Option 1, you earn a lot, but every dollar is already spoken for. Option 2, you earn less, but you have clear breathing room every month. Which one feels calmer? Exactly, because your brain prefers room over raw numbers. This is why people with higher incomes can still feel trapped, because if income rises, but obligations rise too, margin stays small. And when margin stays small, stress stays high. That is why the budget fails. Not because the math is broken, because the feeling is broken. And here's where it gets even more dangerous. Tracking the wrong number creates fake confidence. You see a big balance and think, I'm okay. So you spend. Then a bill hits. Then another one. Then something random happens. And suddenly, the stress is back. Not because you went crazy. Not because you were irresponsible. Because you used a false number to make a real decision. So what should you track instead? Not your total balance. Track your safe to spend number. That is the number that changes behavior. Your safe to spend number is simple. Take what is in your account, subtract what is already owed, subtract what must stay protected. What is left is your real number. That is the number your brain can trust. And once your brain trusts the number, your budget stops feeling like punishment. It starts feeling like clarity. Now let's talk about why this matters psychologically. Your brain hates vague money. It hates mixed purpose money. It hates numbers that look big but feel unstable. That is why so many people check their bank app over and over again, not for information, for reassurance. But reassurance never lasts when the number is misleading. So the cycle repeats. You check, you feel relief, you spend, you panic, you check again. That is not budgeting. That is emotional scanning. And emotional scanning keeps you stuck. So if you want your budget to work, you need one clean number, one honest number, one number your nervous system can believe. That number is not your income. It is not your full balance. It is your margin, your real safe to spend number. Now let's make this practical. Here is the fix. Step 1, list your non-negotiables, not your fantasy budget, not the version of you who never slips. Your real life, rent, bills, minimum debt payments, basic groceries, transport, anything that must happen no matter what. Step 2, subtract those from what you have, not in your head. Write it down, because vague money creates vague stress. Step 3, protect what must stay protected. That could be savings. That could be a small emergency buffer. That could be money you refuse to touch. Then, and only then, treat what remains as spendable. That number is your real number. That is the number you watch. That is the number you make decisions from. Not the full pile. Never the full pile. And once you do this, something powerful happens. Your decisions get faster because the question is no longer, can I afford this? Should I feel guilty? Will I regret this later? The question becomes, does this fit inside my safe to spend number? That is cleaner. That is faster. That is less emotional. And that is why the budget starts working, because you reduce mental friction. Now think about this. How often does your budget fail right after payday? How often does it fail when your balance looks high? How often does it fail because you felt safer than you really were? That is not random. That is the wrong number effect. A misleading number creates misleading behavior. So if you change the number, you change the behavior. And here is the deeper truth. Most people do not need more motivation. They need more accurate visibility, because behavior gets easier when the signal gets clearer. You do not need to scare yourself into discipline. You need to stop feeding your brain confusing numbers. And if you want this system to become even stronger, separate the money. Keep bills separate. Keep spending separate. Keep savings protected. Because when money is separated, your safe to spend number becomes obvious. And obvious numbers create calmer choices. So let's close with this. Your budget is not failing because you are weak. It is failing because you are using a number your brain cannot safely trust. And once you track the right number, everything starts to change. You spend with less guilt, you save with less resistance, you check your bank app with less fear, and you stop feeling broke when you are not. So, here's your challenge. Today, do not check your total balance and walk away. Instead, calculate one number, your real safe to spend number. Then make every money decision this week from that number only. And watch what happens. Not just to your money, to your stress. Because the right number does not just fix your budget. It fixes the feeling that made your budget fail in the first place. If this changed how you think about money, subscribe to Money Mindset Lab. Every week, we break down the psychology behind money and build habits that actually stick. And in the comments, type one word, safe. Because once you track the right number, your money stops feeling out of control. And I'll see you in the next one.